Okay everybody, great and glorious, soon to be famous one day, Nick Dutch back again. Got a video for you today. I want this to be the last somber story I'm going to do for a while. And I want to go back to more frivolous stuff of, you know, the fun demons and ghosts and all the rest of it that's happening in the world. Alright? For those of you who already know and those of you who don't, you can get The Grimoire and the Herbal by Nick Dutch, available on lulu.com right now. Lulu.com, The Grimoire and the Herbal, just what you need. Just what the doctor orders, so to speak, hypothetically or theoretically or whatever. Now, I've been doing some videos recently about the difficulties associated with the magical world, and the fact that there are numerous problems and people die of it and all kinds of terrible things can happen. I maintain that this is due to the culture associated with this. I maintain this is due to the use of language associated with all of these subjects. These subjects will not go away, but the way that we communicate about them, the way that we react to them, and the way that we engage with these subjects is something we need to think about quite a lot. Now, I'm looking now at the psychic worlds. I work as a professional tarot reader. I'm therefore, you know, involved in all of this stuff. So therefore, I have to think, you know, with a certain level of morality about how I live, because all of these problems are part of the psychic industry problems. There's been 7 deaths from psychic surgery complications in 2024, 3 suicides after terminal illness predictions by psychics. Okay, we have to be careful about the use of language when we're doing things like readings or when we're doing YouTube videos and we're talking about magic and witchcraft and occultism, okay? Well, there's been a drowning during an exorcism that was about water sign cleansing. Someone's dead. There's been $2.3 billion lost to psychic scams in the US alone. And the top cons are curse removals, which have an average price tag of $500. And then there's also soulmate tracking, which has a monthly fee of $1,200. Why does that exist? And in a notable case, a woman mortgaged her home for astrological stock tips and lost $740,000. 43 homes have been seized from psychic investment schemes. I don't even know what they are. There's been more than 200 haunted house scams going on in the USA in the year of 2024. And there's also a weird thing called astral alignment in cemetery plots, which was part of a racket which has been exposed recently. There's been a Zodiac cult Ponzi scheme with $19 million stolen, and a celebrity psychic has been sentenced for fraud against the elderly. And there are class action lawsuits against some tarot app companies. Alright. My industry of psychic reading, tarot reading, clairvoyance, astrology, and the rest of that is not innocent. There can be very serious problems, but if someone is going to become convinced to the point of like mortgaging their house and losing $750, they have to be convinced for a reason, and that conviction comes from the culture of language. Now, I'm going to ask you again, and I'm going to probably carry on banging on about this, probably for all time. When are we, as a global community, going to have a very serious conversation about the use of language by people of spirituality? Magic works, the power of prayer works, it works. These phrases are not good. Alright? Now, I believe very strongly that the psychic industry is a very, very useful thing for a lot of people. I work in it. I've helped people. I've guided people. I've guided people who are involved in the organized crime world out of the organized crime world. I've guided people from drink and drugs into recovery. I've guided people who are going through problems in their marriages to mending their marriages so they don't have to get a divorce. I've done a lot of good. And this is a vehicle for me to do that with, okay? And that good can be done. But when the people who are involved in this world are using their language wrong, they're covering ideas that they shouldn't, I mean, no, I cannot get out my tarot cards and prophesy someone's death. No. Both ethically and also, how can I know that I'm that accurate? You know, that's a medical thing you're talking about. When are we going to have this public conversation? about the use of language and spirituality, about the use of the phrase magic works, the power of prayer works, it works. Why aren't we removing these words from our lexicon? And if we did, then we could turn around to the mainstream faiths and say, we're better than you. We could actually do that. And we could hold ourselves up as an example of people who are doing things right. Rather than all this stuff which is out there. Come on. We don't need to carry on using the phrase magic works. I've demonstrated to you that it's wrong. I've provided enough information here to be able to show you more about what's real rather than what's not. Okay? And you've been taught things which aren't real because you've been told it's perfectly okay to say magic works, it works, the power of prayer works. Your culture has created atrocities. Alright? You yourself haven't pulled the trigger, but you've been melting the lead to make the bullets. You've been setting up the shot. You've been turning the safety catch off and putting the black powder in the bullet into the rifle. You haven't pulled the trigger, but essentially you're part of the culture which has led to these things. And the culture is based upon the use of language and spirituality. Look, we all want to think that we're good people. We all want to think we're on the side of righteousness. But we're humans, and as humans, we get things wrong. We've got to learn how to get things more right and work out where we're going wrong so we can get things more right. And to do so with a certain level of love and compassion and empathy for our fellow man. So we're actually having a protective role rather than necessarily like doing harm. This phrase, magic works, must be driven out of our lexicon. Come on. The power of prayer works, gone. It works, gone. And instead we'll have nuanced, intelligent, rational thought. Please, for fuck's sake.